Yes, it's certainly the outlook is pretty uninspiring, right? As you mentioned at the beginning, LATAM is currently one of the global hotspots for the viral pandemic. We estimated that during the first half of the year, we saw a record-breaking decline of real GDP. We expect to climb off a very deep hole during the second half of the year and throughout 2021. Some countries will see double-digit contractions, like Argentina, Peru, Mexico. Others will see less severe contraction, but still a record-breaking contraction, at least the worst we have seen since the Second World War. The silver lining of all of this is that at least inflation is not an issue. Inflation is low, is expected to remain low, and given also the low core global rate environment, that will give most central banks, enough policy room to keep monetary policy relatively accommodative over the foreseeable future. But this is going to be one of the worst contractions in living memory.
I wonder in Brazil's case what this means for political questions going forward as well. I mean, given that President Bolsonaro has almost become the poster child here of mismanagement of the crisis. And when he came into office, even among those who didn't like some of his comments on social issues, were encouraged by his economic policies. Does that hope and optimism around economic reform now shift?
To a certain extent, yes, right? There was strong expectation that we will be observing a regime shift, and the dividend of that would be a much stronger growth profile. That has not been the case. Brazil has been struggling to deliver decent growth for a while. They suffered a very deep recession in 2014 to 16. After that, we had 3 years of relatively modest growth of barely above 1%. And now we're going to see a contraction anything between -5 to -7%. So that expectation, that promise that a more liberal and reformist approach would lead to better growth and improving social conditions were put on hold by the pandemic. Of course, the low growth environment can be destabilizing from a political and social standpoint. That's an observation that is valid for Brazil, but is also valid for the average Latin American country. Keep in mind that LATAM as a region, the last time LATAM grew more than 2%, which is in absolute terms a rather modest level, was 7 years ago. So the perpetuation or the continuation of the low growth environment can be socially and politically destabilizing and also undermine the credibility of the institutions.